My name's Paul Gilhooly, one of the VPs here at 6 Sense. Background, 20 years in sales and basically SaaS. Predominantly been in Martech. Currently live in London. Recent father, recent husband, lover of food, big Arsenal fan. But yeah, that's me.
We get, we get authors on, we get operators on, and from time to time we get specialists on. And so today, this is getting you on in the specialist slot around Martech, sales stack. I think lots of clients. I've introduced your firm to a number of clients, and I've got a number of clients who've already acquired your technology before we started speaking to them. But before we talk about any of that, let's sort of wind back. Why did you join 6 Sense? Like, what were you doing before? Like, why did this company seem like it was something interesting and exciting to get into?
Interesting. Where to start? Well, look, my background, which I'll provide context, was started as a BDR and then went into different sales leadership roles, managing multiple different teams before growing an EMEA region at a previous company. They were a content marketing platform that had a built-in audience. And what we started to realize is how you could monetize the data, what then became intent data, and as a way to help companies prioritize where they should be focusing in terms of which accounts were in market, perhaps, and how they could improve conversions. When I was at my old company, though, I realized that we had such a limited view on certain markets. This idea of intent data was limited, and I knew that we weren't solving the bigger problems, and I can talk to those. But what it did do is that led me on a path to think about my exit. The company got acquired, and I was there for 9 years or so. So I was already sort of looking for what was next, and there was a couple of things that were really important to me. One, I was ready to be the first man on the ground and launch a region, so that was super interesting. Before at my old place, I was one of 3 sellers with my managing director, and I was going, I want to do what you're doing. I want to be the guy who grows the region. So that was important to me. But this product area, I could see that data was becoming more and more used in go-to-market, and it sent me on a bit of a path. So I started researching predictive analytics, customer data platforms, and then I landed at 6 Sense, and I realized, of course, AI. Some really smart people had already solved this, and some of these problems that we can talk to about how data, but AI can really solve the challenge about actually who is in market. So I wasn't really focused on ABM and the terms that are used, but more around data and AI. And then I found 6 Sense, researched them, and I was actually probably year and a half, maybe to 2 years, I was tracking them. And then I started seeing them being bought by my customer base. I was like, when are they going to come to Europe? When are they come to Europe? And they got a round of funding. And it was at that point when I was like, right, I'm now going to put my old BDR hat on. And I prospected every exec in the company. I did not apply. I was like, no, I could get ruled out that way. So I hounded them, forced my way into a process. And then, 6-month process it took to get the role, but it came from my domain knowledge and my passion around the product and what it could do. And
I've done that, open up a EMEA for 2 US-based tech firms in my career, and I coach a number of other people who are doing that at the moment, and it's just so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah. I think you've got to be at a stage of your career. I think if this had come 5 years or more, I definitely wouldn't have been ready for it. But fun, and when you do start seeing a business and a region grow,
picking a good sector, and then you pick a company that's the leader in Gartner Magic Quadrant. That's helpful, as opposed to fighting your way through for the underdog. Better to be in the best business in the space, in a growing space. So what, for the people who don't know what we're talking about, what space are you in? How would you define what problem you're solving for people?
Yeah, like you said, we're recognized in a lot of analyst reports for ABM, intent data, and everything else. I guess what you're seeing in go-to-market teams is this shift from a lead-based model to an account-based model. But we can talk about that in a bit more detail. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned problems. It's probably a good way of talking through how we help, and I can then get into some elements of the product if that's of interest. So, well, where to start? I guess the way we look at it, that go-to-market teams, whether you're in marketing or sales, they're fundamentally dependent on guesswork. So what do I mean by that? If we look at, depending on what research you look at, but it will be anywhere from, say, 5 to 10% of your TAM will be in market at any given moment, right? And that is difficult because you're searching, where are these accounts that are already in a position to purchase that? They're aware of maybe your product or your solution. But the problem is that buyers today are anonymous. They don't want to engage with you. They don't want to engage with sales. So it becomes really difficult. A good example of this, like web traffic, those that are raising their hand and filling out forms, only 3% do that. Some people believe that stat has gone down, but it's been pretty consistent for the last 10 years or so, right? But the problem's getting more difficult because people are becoming more informed. There's more buyers involved in research and so on. And it's just being more complicated for companies to go to market. So we've been dependent on maybe a bit of segmentation. There's been spray and pray, in terms of marketing to try and reach accounts that could potentially buy from them. What all of this leads to, though, is companies are missing out on opportunities altogether. You mentioned a lot of the companies that you speak to are that sort of early stage or scale ups to a certain size, and what a challenge they have, right? We have a customer who's a very large, dominant player in more of an enterprise space, and they did some third-party research to understand market share, but also what's the volume of opportunities they were missing out on. And despite being the dominant brand, the sort of directional feedback they got was that they were missing out on 85% of opportunities, and they were the biggest brand and the biggest player. But the problem with what I suppose we're highlighting is this guesswork. You are either missing out on opportunities altogether, you could be getting to deals late if they're coming to you, or worse still, you are focusing on the wrong accounts. The accounts that are not in a position to buy, or won't be in a position to buy for a foreseeable. This is leading to challenges around pipeline, conversions, sales cycles, productivity with reps. And in the economy today, that's even worse because in a downturn, there's even less demand for your products and services.
So if I'm the CEO and I'm listening to this, it's like, I wonder what it is for us. But in that case, was that work that you and the team did at Sixth Sense to identify that they were missing out on 85% of opportunities? Or
no, they actually hired a third-party consultancy. They're a large enterprise in the storage space, so they spent a fair bit of money. And I think that's a lot of the traditional analysis that companies will do, right? Which is get a third party, do some market research. It's very static, will give you some ideas, but it's not dynamic. And I think what we're doing this is we're leading into what Sixth Sense does, right? We would position ourselves as, a revenue AI platform.
What does it mean?
But if I take a step back, so we've been going for 10 years, and our founders were in the consultancy demand gen space and really launched the business with a very simple, question, which was, wouldn't sales and marketing be much easier if we just understood who was in market? Like if we just knew that.
Like tarot card reading, come on.
Yeah. So that is it, That was a very simple question, but obviously very difficult to answer. But as we've seen shifts in buyer behavior, as we've seen, more and more of the research happening online, there are ways to identify these accounts. And that is really, where we come in, because what Sixth Sense does, I mean, I can go into the product if we want to go into that level, but you're really thinking about it in terms of there's the data layer, there's AI intelligence, and we bring that intelligence into all of your channels. But if I were to frame it in a very simple way, we enable your go-to-market teams to know when an account is in market for your product and solution. If this is a good account for you, all right, super important, like aligned to ICP and historical performance data. Yeah, we provide complex data and so on. We will be able to tell you what this account cares about, so you know how to engage. But what we can do, we've got generative AI, so we can even say it for you. So we have an AI email assistant that can handle back and forth interactions with your target audience, and will only bring in a human intervention once they know a meeting is ready to be booked. So we're talking about an end-to-end revenue process is what we provide.
So some of that, how do you, thinking about the total addressable market and then who's in market, how do you know who's in market and how do you know whether it's going to be a good account for me?
Yeah, and probably what I'll do is take a step back. Everything I said, probably like you said, is like AI sounds too good to be true. What are we talking about? And I would say, what we've seen is just an evolution of how companies go to market, and they're looking for efficiencies. They're looking for performance gains. And, a good example is, the term ABM, right, is becoming more and more prominent and is a go-to-market play. If we break that down, what does that mean? What companies have realized over time is that it's less about mass reach, and you're trying to reach the right type of companies. What companies can I sell to? What companies can I sell to, maybe at a quicker rate for a higher order value? Which ones retain better? And this is all led towards this ABM piece. So normally there's a process of ICP, ideal customer profile definition. You're identifying that. You're using certain sources to identify that. Again, I'll talk in Sixth Sense terms, but you're ultimately looking and going, hey, this is the ideal customer profile. How can we go reach these companies? And can we market to them? Can we sell to them? This has been what companies are doing because they deliver better results, better efficiencies. Over time, solutions like Sixth Sense become really sophisticated in that. We can do, a lot of good anecdotal customer stories for you here, but people typically, or go-to-market teams, will struggle with ICP definition. It might be quite basic. We, again, apply AI where we will look back over years of performance data, your opportunity data, and we'll start to be able to clearly define what your ICP looks like. What we're doing is starting to look at all of that data. We apply, if you think profile and firmographic data around, hey, what are the companies you target convert? But then we're also, to your question about understanding whether they're in market, looking at the behaviors within an account. What are the typical behaviors we see before a sales qualified opportunity is opened and relating to close one data? So if we understand which accounts yield the best results, how do we go find more of those accounts? And essentially, that's a big part of what we do. So we can tell a customer, once we start working with them, hey, of all the ICP accounts in your market, we can start to see which of those are researching, but importantly, which of these are actually in market. And we even take it a step further, and we actually tell you how many of these accounts are actually in your CRM. And so many go-to-market teams are blind that not only do they not have a holistic view of their TAM and their ICP, but most of the accounts are not even in your CRM.
Because they're not in your CRM, if you've got a tech stack that's reasonably mature, nothing pops up because you're not looking for them turning up because you don't even know they exist.
Well, this is it, right? I go back to that stat that typically, if you're doing well, probably 3% of your web traffic are filling out form. So a big part of our product is being able to identify these anonymous accounts. So account identification, that is applied to not only your website, but across the third-party B2B web. So we can identify these accounts, match it to your ICP, so understand which accounts and link it to the behaviors. What are they researching? What are they doing? What do they care about? Understanding, the account and understanding the behaviors within the account, or intent data, as the sort of industry calls it. But importantly, we match that with your data, your historical opportunity data. And that's where we do some pattern matching, and we can then accurately predict which accounts are in market, to the level where we predict for sales which accounts are going to be most likely to open a sales qualified opportunity in the next 90 days. And typically that's 12 times more likely than the accounts that you're working today.
That's huge. Like pipeline creation is, if you think about this, if I talk to the salespeople, they go, pipeline creation, we use a tool in our clients called target operating model. And we had this sort of, the guy who runs the support team, he had this sort of aha moment a couple of months ago. So, we map out the sort of quote to cash process, and we map out the functions that customers travel through. So they travel through marketing, and then they travel through sales. Maybe there's pre-sales, professional services, onboarded managed services, and then there's sort of the in-life management or support. And we're looking at that support function, and it's amber, and he looks at the rest of it and it's all red. And he said, I've just realized something. There's nothing I can do on my own. If we can't fix marketing, sales will keep selling stuff to people that we shouldn't really sell to because they're trying to hit their number. And then I'm left with clients who are not an ideal fit for us, and when they're never happy. And so then the whole executive team realizes that they as a team have to fix marketing. Marketing isn't something they can just leave broken or not, or suboptimal. And it was like, he just looked at it, he went, I hadn't realized before. I thought I was on my own and I was failing, and now I realize I'm in a team sport. And I just wanted to pick up on one of the things you said before, though, which was that this email piece, because there's always that tension. I see it every day between sales and marketing. The marketing people go, we're generating enough leads. It's just those lazy bastards won't pick up the phone and talk to them. And the salespeople say, well, I've rang them and they're not looking for anything for 18 months. And if they're not looking because they don't have enough pipeline, I'm not going to talk to them because I have this much narrower time frame. That difference between a lead and an opportunity. And you're saying you've got that piece of tech in the middle, AI email, that can engage those people and do something with them, as opposed to them just spending money and then pouring it down the drain.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different things that we could talk about. The classic sales and marketing alignment, the distrust between MQLs and sales, and they're not good, and marketing say, how do you know they're not good? You haven't contacted them, or you haven't met the SLA, you haven't contacted them enough. And on that is that market shift, and why Sixth Sense has such good product to market fit, because for a decade and more, and through the adoption of marketing automation and everything else, go-to-market teams have always been looking for prioritization to deliver better outcome. But the way in which we prioritize has fundamentally changed, both by buyer behavior, but with the technology that we have available. So with marketing automation and lead scoring, it's all been about, hey, we're going to prioritize the best leads that are engaging with us based on their profile. We'll give you a score of 20 because you hit a persona and you watched a webinar or you downloaded a white paper. But we know that does not indicate a propensity to purchase, especially in the tech world and SaaS and whatnot. Gartner's latest research, depending on ACV levels, anywhere between 14 to 23 buyers. But we don't look at the account. We don't look at the account level. We're still in MQL land, which is this individual did this, must be good. And then we use all of this resource to go, hey, follow up, all these touch points, probably pissing them off, if I'm allowed to say this on the podcast, and creating distrust, brand impact, and saying, look, just because I engage with your content does not mean I'm ready for a meeting, but we're going to hammer you 20 times in 20 days, and all the lost productivity. So our whole thing is using your resource budget and everything else on the accounts that are, statistically will yield the better results. However, it doesn't mean that the odd person who does engage with a webinar could not, lead to a purchase. So how do you cover bases? And that's where our tool and AI and generative AI comes into play. So for us, we call this conversational email, but it is this, I like to look at it as really marketing taking back of control and owning the whole entire SLA process, or removing that SLA process with sales and saying, hey, my handshake to you, sales, is that we'll only bring in one of your reps when a meeting is confirmed. How about that?
Yeah, you prove it to me. Yeah.
And I'll give you some stories about, I'll tell you a little bit about how it works and how we validated some of it. But ultimately, if you, marketing automation, we've got sales engagement platforms, what they say, automation platforms. So they will automate nurture campaigns or emails and so on. But as soon as a human responds, human intervention is needed. And then there's the back and forth. But we know when they respond, it doesn't mean the work is over, that they're ready for a meeting. It could be, hey, this is of interest. Can you send me some more information? Oh, no, I'm the wrong person. You should talk to them. Oh, can I get more content? Not for 6 months. Whatever form it is, the AI assistant will understand what you're saying, respond in the tone and, your brand in a reflective way, and will handle those interactions out of office, direction to someone else, and will only introduce a rep when needed. So it's an AI bot. Marketing will hate me saying a bot. They ban that word, but for you and your audience, that will be a good way of looking at it, right? And I'll give you a good use case that we did. Because of your response is always the response. Like, really?
Well,
what? But if you think of like ChatGPT-3, it's creating a workflow around that and creating parameters and structure that a go-to-market team can use.
Clara from Clara Labs. And people say things like, your PA is really efficient. I mean, she sent me a reminder for tomorrow's meeting at 11 p.m. God, she works hard for you. And, they've chatted backwards and forwards, like, have a nice weekend. Yeah, you too. Happy Friday, whatever. And the worst people are when it's a PA or an EA, because they see this dystopian future where they've now interacted and thought they'd built rapport with somebody that is a bot, and they just see a dystopian future where they're out of work. But it's incredibly powerful. So I haven't used the email tool that you speak of, but I have experience in something that's been fabulous.
Yeah, conceptually, it's the same sort of piece, but imagine that across a demand gen play. So what we realize is that, hey, with the explosion of AI, it's very topical. People are trying to, look into it. How can AI drive efficiency in many different ways? But there is still this, nervousness. So we felt, right, if we're going to build confidence, how is the best way that we could do it? Unleash it on our customers. So we created an AI assistant for our customer success directors, emailed our customers and said, hey, we'd love to talk to you about this new product development. It's called conversational email. And then we had interaction back and forth, and we set up meetings. And then they were like, hey, this product sounds really interesting. Bryce or Janine, who was leading our CS teams. And they were like, oh, can you tell me more? And then we went, well, you've already experienced it. That wasn't me emailing you this week. And you got all of it. Like, there was everyone like, or I think we had a handful of people going, I feel in some way I've been catfished. I thought this was someone that wasn't someone, but it's really interesting. I believe we're scratching the surface of the different use cases, but fundamentally everyone's looking to drive efficiency or productivity. So we've got BDRs or sales reps who do not want to be following up on this 1,000 leads or whatever, or, big trade show. It's like, you don't have to. We're going to manage the SLAs. We'll do all of this for you. We'll manage the back and forth in the tone, in the time that you want. Marketing can control it. And we'll only bring you in when you need it. You focus on the high value stuff.
Instead of ringing 1,000 leads on the back of a trade show, the conversational AI is taking, so I think, well, we should be able to get to higher value conversations quicker. The timeline for those should be shorter, some sense of, can I therefore generate more opportunities with a smaller team? I'm then passing them into sales, their meetings. I should be able to close more revenue with a smaller team. I'm talking to more people who are in markets, and my pipeline creation should be more efficient. Like, what size team do you need to put this in? If I put this in, in your world, what's your ICP and what's the smallest you go down to in terms of sales teams?
Oh, right. There was a lot in there. If I circle back on some stuff, look, hey, all the outcomes that you were talking about are absolutely correct. When we it's a big part of what we do. I think one of the things I'm most grateful about working with Sixth Sense, not only being able to use the platform myself to grow our revenue and grow the region, but is that because we are integrated with our customers' stack, we have access to their opportunity data. So we've got real tangible ways to go and communicate the value we bring.
When you're doing the sort of ingest to look at the ICP, it's like, well, we can see how well you were performing before you turn this on. This is how well we've made you work now.
And that continues, right? So this is, if I think about pre-sales, we're talking, our big differentiator and the things that we talk to is our ability to prove value, right? We are, we sell on value, we speak to value, and that continues through the life cycle because of a few things. We've got access to that data, and we've even, and I'll talk to the outcomes, but just before I forget, one of the biggest and boldest moves Sixth Sense did was build in a report, a self-service report, which shows, hey, the accounts that we're recommending are in market, how better they convert than the other accounts that you're working. So it's literally a chart, and you can see the efficiency gains. Now, if that report goes in the wrong direction, they churn. But it's also the best way to drive adoption, because if we're telling a sales rep, hey, these accounts are 8 times more likely going to lead to a sales qualified opportunity. Why would you not focus on this? It's a bold move from a vendor to be so accountable to results when it's self-service. But obviously that comes from the results that we do deliver. And we've got incredible customer advocacy. We are just, I'm so fortunate on that respect. We've had multiple rounds of investment, and we're seen as potential IPO candidate even in this market, right? It is the value that we bring to our customers. And last year, our net retention was over 120%. That's significant. It's what the investors want, because not only are you retaining your customers, but you're growing your customers, and that can only be if you're delivering value. And the outcomes that we're delivering typically fall into 4 categories. This point of, a lot of the questions I'm asking CROs is, hey, do you have a process to ensure you're not missing out on opportunities? And there's always a bit dumbfounded, like, no, maybe I should have a process. That's that anonymous research, that dark funnel, as we call it. But us giving you visibility into the accounts that are doing anonymous research instantly gives you an opportunity to improve opportunity volume. On average, that's 39% for our customers. All right. But the AI enables you to nail the timing of when you should engage. And we know those that nail timing and get into accounts first, 84%, depending what research, but certainly ours indicate 84% of those that get in first win the deal. But what the outcome of that is for us is we see customers' win rates improve by 13%. And importantly, larger deal sizes can increase by 45%. So this is huge. But I think the biggest one they're all big, but the big one for driving real rep productivity is, can you shorten sales cycles? And on average, again, it's they reduce by 38%, because if you're fundamentally getting all of your reps in front of accounts that have a much higher propensity to buy, people are more willing to take meetings and so on. If they're already aware of the problem, they're already like, yes, this is something we need.
I was just thinking, what do you think more generally in the marketplace? What's next as a result of AI?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, look, what's happening with OpenAI and different things. I think the use cases really are infinite. I mean, we spoke about the generative AI from our conversational email tool, right? That is now contributing 10% of our pipeline, right? And we are, relatively large now. We, in ARR, we're over 200 million now. We're a sizable company, and we've got generative AI creating 10% of our pipeline. That is significant, right? And again, I feel we've got 8 identified plays that we use it for. But when you think through it, we're just a bit like, there's got to be more. there's got to be more. Certainly the generative AI, where it's creating emails and copy for you, I think that is in one form, and there's a lot of time saved on this. But if you think about it, like, I think everyone's testing with AI now. I mean, you can instantly go onto tools and say, hey, compare these products, or write an email copy, write 4 paragraphs for this. So, I always joke with my marketing director. I was like, oof, you need to up your game, because, there's some risk here. I mean, I joke but it's about the efficiencies you can gain. There's so many marketers I know that all of their posts, their social media and everything else is being written by AI. So it's productivity gains, I think, is really the big ones. And what can that do to go-to-market teams? Because you think about how much time is spent creating content, writing copy. You still got to have a human element to control that narrative, the brand, and the tone. But it's such a game changer to have something like this. Content creation, I think, is one of the biggest opportunities, because it's so time consuming, especially to do well.
Paul, what is it now you wish you'd known earlier?
What I know now, probably if I look back to my younger self as a salesperson, that you can't win alone. If I look back, I think I was younger I was probably a stereotypical ego-driven sales rep, and I wanted to show and prove that I could do it all, when actually that's never the case. And certainly you learn that more and more as your career progresses, as soon as you go into leadership. So I very much have like a servant leadership style, if you like. I think my role is to create an environment where others can be successful.
What else, though, should people read? What's been good for you? Or maybe what were you reading whilst lying on the lounger in Lanzarote in the summer, or wherever you were?
Well, there's probably, if you talk about sort of professionally some of the books, yes, definitely read the Sixth Sense book, by the way. That is our go-to-market Bible. Everything in there is how we go to market. Like I say, I swear, I just think we're in a very fortunate position where we use our own platform to drive our own growth. And we've gone from niche player to category leader in a very short period of time using that go-to-market Bible. So I'd definitely say recommend that. But for me personally, a couple of books that stand out from a more strategic point of view, Exponential Organizations is a very good read. Really like that one. That was good, just about digital native companies and different efficiencies and some of the things they've got there. Again, I see some alignment with Sixth Sense on that. And then from a more functional, practical piece, from a sales perspective, The Qualified Sales Leader by John McMahon, I think, is a classic because of so much good stuff in there, but the way it's written, it doesn't feel, it's not too academic. There's a bit of a story and a real life experience around that. But from a SaaS enterprise sales motion, there is so much to like in that book, and it really resonates in a very simple way.
Thank you very much indeed for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you today.
Likewise, enjoyed it. Appreciate it.